I call the Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr. Speaker, it's an honour to be speaking in the Prime Minister's statement, and it's also an honour to be the concluding speech in this long process. Mr. Speaker, I can't say that I've heard all the speeches over the last couple of weeks, but the ones that I have heard from this side of the House have been positive, forward-looking, celebratory, honouring New Zealanders and talking about a government that is working hard for all New Zealanders. I have to say the speeches that I've heard from the opposition have shown very clearly that actually during their time in opposition, the Labour and Green caucuses have not learnt the lessons of opposition. They are still working as they were in the mid-2000s, judging everything on inputs. Yep. They judge everything on how much money you put into something. This government, because it came through the GFC perhaps, but this government has been focused on getting results for New Zealanders. So it's not how much money you put into something, it's the effect of that spend and the results that you get for the people of New Zealand. And so this government has learnt those lessons, and that is why it has been so successful. And if you look back on the achievements of this government, we have increased, even through a GFC, we have increased the minimum wage by 27% since National-led government in 2008. And at the same time, we've seen inflation kept to a rise of 11%. So that is a very real difference that those New Zealanders on the minimum wage have seen in their back pockets. Interest rates, mortgage interest rates almost 11% when we came into government. Now they're down around the 4% mark. We've seen the economy growing, 3% growth in the last 12 months. We've seen the average wage grow by $10,000 since we came into government. When we came in, it was $47,000. Now it's $57,000 is the average wage. Youth offending, our young people, fewer numbers appearing in the youth court, down by 61% since National came into government. Thanks. The lowest reported crime rates that we've seen in 23, 24 years under this National government. Teenage pregnancies at a historic low, participation in early childhood education at an all-time high. Never before have we seen so many children taking part in early childhood education, and never before have we seen so many kids leaving school, particularly Māori and Pacifica kids leaving school with a qualification, with NCA Level 2. That's been hard work by a lot of teachers, staff members, boards of trustees across the country, and this government has supported them all the way. Immunisation rates for Māori and Pacifica children are at the same rate as for European children. We've never seen that before. Tremendous, tremendous achievement. And on the 1st of April this year, a month from today, for the first time in 43 years, people receiving benefits with children in their families will get an increase of $25 a week. $25 a week is going to make an enormous difference, and all the families that I've been talking to have talked to me about the things that they will be able to do for their children. And then for those lower working families on a lower income, of course, working for families is being increased by between $12.50 a week and $24.50 for those on the very low incomes. We have done the research, we have got the evidence, and we have based our investments of taxpayers' dollars in the places that we know are going to make the most difference to New Zealand families. And what's more, we're working together. So whether it's our business growth agenda, where we've got ministers working together across government, the regional development team that are out and about, the family violence work that we're doing, and even today the whole of government reducing harm from gangs. We are working together, using good evidence, using that research. And we've been open enough to set ourselves some targets publicly, targets to show the public that we can get better results for them and their families, and report on them openly and regularly. So we are investing the taxpayers' money wisely where we know it will have the greatest effect. So let me just talk a little bit about what we've done in welfare, and I want to concentrate on two groups that we know have the highest long-term liabilities and the worst outcomes in their lives. The first is sole parents, and we are seeing the number of people receiving the sole parent support has fallen over the last 5 years by 23.5%. And there are now almost 42,000 fewer children living in benefit-dependent homes. And the opposition have often asked, who cares? What difference does that make? Why is that important? Well, it's important because, again, the evidence and the research that we have done here on this side of the House, we know that of children who are born into a benefit-dependent home, 48% will have a SIF notification before they're 18. 48% someone will be concerned that they're either neglected or they're being abused. Almost half of them will not get NCA level 2. These are children that are born into benefit-dependent homes. 45% of them will be on a benefit themselves before they turn 19. And unfortunately, 5% of them will have either a community sentence or be through the courts and in jail before they turn 19. So that's why it's important that we help and support their parents get into work, because that gives not only the parents but their children a better chance at life. And then in young people, we have seen the 15 to 19-year-old NEET rate is the lowest since records began back in 2004. Now, that's taken an enormous amount of work right across government, from education to health to justice, police and MSD. We've all worked together to make sure that those young people get the best opportunity that they can. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister talked about the overhaul of SIF, and last year I appointed an expert panel to lead that complete overhaul of child, youth and family, because those children are the most vulnerable in our communities and they deserve to have the best lives. It's not their fault that they were born into families that abuse them or neglect them, and they deserve to get the whole attention of government and of their communities to make sure that they can live successful lives. And the panel have reported to me they've identified during that time 4 building blocks of the new system. They've identified that we need a child-centred system. We talk a lot about it, but when you talk to the kids themselves, they say, actually no one talked to me, actually no one listened to me, and that we don't feel that it's a child-centred system. We need an investment approach. We need to use that same evidence and research to know where we need to put our dollars to get the best effect for long-term for those kids. And the opposition don't like any of this because they are content to sit back and watch these kids be abused, be re-abused, re-victimised and continue to live lives that are full of not succeeding in life. And the member smiles, but actually the stats are really bad, because of those kids who live in care, we know the stats tell us that 90% of them will end up on a benefit. The stats tell us that 80% of them won't get NCA level 2. They deserve better than this, and this government is going to deliver it for those kids. Mr. Speaker, New Zealanders know that this national-led government, and I want to pay tribute to our coalition partners because we can't do it without them. They have been part of all the success that we are celebrating here in the House in this conclusion tonight. And we welcome the input that we get from them. But New Zealanders know that this national-led government is working for them, because it is actually delivering for them. New Zealanders know that this national-led government is investing their dollars wisely, based on good research and based on evidence. New Zealanders know that this national-led government is addressing the hard issues by addressing and understanding the drivers of crime, the drivers of poverty and hardship, and the drivers of economic growth and prosperity. New Zealanders have confidence in this government. They've shown it time and time again. So do
Sorry,
we.
the Minister's